Tuesday, September 6th, 11 a.m. That means it's time for Breaking Even. On today's show, Jonathan Coachman is going to join us as always because the first big weekend of NCAA football is in the books. How did our picks turn out? He's also going to look into his crystal ball, look ahead to the NFL because the NFL starts this weekend. Get your money ready. He's also going to educate us on how to bet and how to stay within ourselves this time of year when there's NCAA football, NFL football, baseball, even a little bit of golf. That's right, Dustin Johnson won on the Live Tour. And in related news, a tree fell in the woods. Well, Guy Adami is going to help us out. Apple puts, Tesla puts. What's happening in the market went up, and then it went down, and then went up. All that was this morning. It's only been open for about 2 hours? Anyway, Breaking Even, big show. Here we go. How we doing? Ned Michaels alongside the coach. Coach, what do you know, bud? How are we? Have a good
I know I'm
weekend?
fired. Yeah, I know I'm fired up. I know that this is week 1 of the NFL season. I know that we have an incredible PGA Tour season in our rear view mirror. So I'm fired up today to get it going. We're going to switch our focus a little bit, Ned, from golf now to football.
I love it. And Guy Adami is going to be with us later in the show to educate us on the markets. And your favorite 3 letters, OIH. That hurt him a little bit.
Oh, not even 60 seconds in today. Not even 60 seconds in.
All right, Coach. So today it's going to be all about last week. How'd we do? Looking ahead to this week, I know you've got some nice stuff on the docket, but also along the way, you're going to educate us because, as I was saying in the intro, there's just so much going on right now. And it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to chase bad money, lost money with good money. So keep us straight. Help us understand what we need to be doing, especially this time of year.
You see, this is the time of year, Ned, that people need, you need to put your sports betting season into the school year. What I mean by that is this. You build up your bankroll or you save it for the NFL season. This is the bread and butter. The next 5 months, that's when the most money is bet on sports, period. And then they kind of scale it back when you get to February for basketball and baseball. But this is the money time. And you got to be educated. You got to know what you're doing. You got to find the little nuggets here and there because points, half points, it all matters. But we got everybody covered right here at Breaking Even.
There were some tough beats over the weekend in college football. Let's take a look at the picks that you laid out for us.
Yeah. Well, Duke was an easy winner. That was an easy winner. They won by 30 or 40. I knew that one was good. LSU, that one stings because they come back, tie the game. We had a chance to win in overtime, and they missed the extra point. But that should illustrate just how easily you can have a bad beat happen. You can't assume that things are going to cover. So we go 1-1. We lose a little bit of juice, but that's not horrible.
The LSU game was just sports at the core because it was so painful. I had no dog in the fight, but even just watching it was yes, no. It was just, especially if you got some cheese on it. Woo.
It was like pulling teeth. But people need to understand that's kind of what Brian Kelly does. When you look at certain coaches, and I always look at everything from a betting perspective, right? And certain coaches coach certain ways. Brian Kelly has always had his teams just not quite good enough to be elite, whether it was at Notre Dame or now at LSU. We should have known better, but now we take that, we learn from it, and then we address it on future bets with LSU or against LSU.
I mean, we should have known after the dancing with
stop.
Is that the most hideous, just cringy as my son was? That's the most cringy thing I've seen all year.
But if somebody pays me $10 million a year to coach their football team, I'll dance all day and all night. I don't care.
Well, let's hope we can do some dancing in the streets when we look ahead to this week because now NCAA football is rolling. And, of course, the NFL starts this week. So, Coach, where are we going with our money this week?
So here's the thing. You have at your fingertips, through me, some of the greatest, I would say the greatest NFL and college football minds in America at Sportsline. We have everybody. So I'm going to bring picks that my guys have to this show every single week. and we have them on the early edge. We have our big mega previews. We dive deep. So this week, I've got 3 different things I want to do. So our first one is I want to just give a straight NFL play out. Now, we've got some great matchups this week, but I'm going to go Chargers -3.
Mm-hmm.
And they are taking on the Raiders at home. The AFC West is going to be dynamic.
Yes.
Dynamic.
Even the
right?
Broncos could stick their nose into this thing.
100%. By the way, Russell Wilson, shout out to you. You look like $1 million at the U.S. Open the other day.
He did. He
oh,
definitely
my God.
did.
Iced out.
Yeah.
Sierra sitting there. Oh, I mean, just that's how you roll as a NFL superstar.
Had the sunglasses on. Just
there you go.
Killing
there you go. So this is at home. For those people who are brand new, this is what we consider just a straight bet. You're just taking the point spread. Now, the 3 most important numbers in all of football sports betting, Ned, are, do you know them? The 3 most important numbers.
Hit me
3, 7, and 10. Okay? Because that's the easiest way for points to be scored. So you want to maneuver the line a little bit. You could buy a half point if you're betting against the Chargers and take it to 3.5, or you can buy a half a point down to 2.5, and it's probably going to be -130 or -140. You can do that, and it manipulates the line a little bit, costs you a little bit of juice. But if you do that, the Chargers could win by 3, and now you win the bet. So there's all kinds of different ways, even playing a straight play like this, that you can cash. So I like the Chargers there.
How do they determine how much I have to pay to get that half point?
Well, every sports book is going to change because basically, Ned, what people need to understand is every sports book, they want the same bet on one side as they have on the other side. So if you got -120 and you've got, let's say, $1,000 and $500 is bet on each side, that's what they want because they're going to make 20% juice no matter what. So if it's getting heavy over here, they'll manipulate the juice. So then now people start betting on the other side. So whether it's the juice or whether it's the spread, that matters big time.
There's a reason those hotels and casinos are big in Vegas.
100%. 100%.
Okay, so Chargers, I can buy the juice one way or the other. Half point might be worth it.
Yeah, definitely. If you're sitting on 3, I always buy the half point. I have other guys that don't believe in it because they're playing every day and they're playing a lot of games, and 10 or 20 cents matters if you're betting 100 games a week. You know what I mean? Gotcha. So that's why the juice matters so much. So on 3 or on 7 or on 10, I will normally buy the half point in whatever way helps the team that I like.
Okay. Got it.
All right. Now, there's another way that I love to bet. And my guys at Sportsline and the Early Edge, they're great at this. It's called a parlay or a teaser. Now, I'm going to give out a teaser here on the show. And the teaser is you move the line, 2-team teaser, 6 points for each team. A 3-team teaser, you get 10 points. Now, you got to hit all 3 or you got to hit both plays. That's the caveat to a teaser. But in the NFL, the reason you do it there and not college football is very volatile. That teams are trying to win by as many points as possible because it matters to get to the playoffs or get to a New Year's bowl game. So you never tease a college football game. Never. NFL.
Everybody hear that? Say it again.
Never tease a college football game. Ever. Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it. Now, in the NFL, the lines are very efficient. All right. In college football, you'll see totals at 70, 71, 70. You'll never see that in the NFL. They're much more efficient, and only winning games matters, right? So It doesn't matter if this week the Packers beat the Vikings by 14. They only care if they win the game.
Right.
That's all that matters. So if you're moving the line 6 points in the NFL, it's much more beneficial.
Style points matter in college, don't matter here in the NFL.
They don't matter. So there's a reason that I picked that Packers-Vikings game. Because that's one part of my teaser, as you see on the screen. Vikings, because the spread is very, very close. So it's like 1.5. So I want to add 6 points to that. So I'll take the Vikings plus 7.5. And then the 49ers, they're a 7-point favorite on the field. So I take that 6 points. They're now giving 1, and I have to win both. And again, it's also smart because if one of those pushes, that's a loss. So I like to have the half point, like the 7.5 or 1.5 or 2.5, so I can guarantee me at least a chance that I'm going to win or lose and not have that push, which is also a loss.
So when I go to bet on it, how do I enter it into whatever platform I'm using?
So most sports books will have just a little box, and it'll say straight, it'll say parlay, or it'll say teaser. You hit that little box, the drop down comes down, and you just pick whatever you want, and then the numbers will change automatically in your bet slip.
Easy enough. All right. So Vikings 7.5, 49ers -1. Explain again to everybody what the -120 means.
All right, so that means to win $100, you're laying 120. So if it's -130, you would lay $130 to bet 100. Everything is based off of a $100 bet. So when you see -180, that means you're laying $180 to win 100. And then if it's the underdog and it's +180, then you're betting $100 to win 180.
Kind of like puts and calls when you're buying them and selling them. They're based on quantities of 100. So I understand that. And by the way, Guy Adami is going to join us later in the show to walk us through some of the markets, figure out what's going on there, how we can make a little money or at least preserve a little bit of cash, so that maybe we can sprinkle a little something on this Vikings 49ers at 120. I like this. And plus, I like it. Also gives me one of the reasons that this is fun and entertaining is because I enjoy just watching the games, just having, like you said, a little sprinkle there. And so this gives me now a little bit more to pay attention to.
This also, I think, can make people a much smarter sports fan. I think sports betting, if done correctly, you can take a lot of the information that you get from studying for sports betting and just use it in your everyday knowledge. In my everyday career, I use all of it because I do a sports betting show every single day, but I use all of it, and it's made me a better sports fan, a better golf announcer, a better just overall talent because of the nuggets and because of the information that I study on a daily basis. So there's so many places. I would encourage people to come with us because we're very kind. We like to teach, and we don't want people losing a ton of money. That's the whole point. You want to win a little bit, but it also should be fun. And I want people to remember as they get into their first NFL season of betting, whether you're doing fantasy, whether you're doing just straight betting, make it fun. Don't make it so serious that you live and die by every single bet, because that's what you don't want to do.
There's a reason that Brett Musburger used to say, some very interested onlookers in Vegas.
True story, Ned. True story. When I used to do Sports Center, we'd all be sitting in the newsroom working on the show, and Saturdays were my favorite. I would do that late 1 a.m. show on Saturday night, so you got all the college games. It's highlight after highlight after highlight. One of the things we loved to do was to tune in to the Brent Musburger game and try to guess what bet he made for that particular game. And if he bet the over, and say it was Oklahoma and Texas, and there was a quick touchdown, the crowd's going crazy, he would say, oh, I think there's going to be a lot of points scored today. Oh, he's betting the over.
Taking the over.
Or if you got a defensive stop in the first quarter, and he bet the under, which he rarely did. He'd be, oh, the defenses, I think they're going to be strong today. Oh, he bet the under. And if he bet a side, he would get, I mean, it was awesome. So it made sense when he left ESPN to start a sports betting network, which now just sold for between $50 and $100 million in Vegas. So he made the right call. His son started that network, and they've done very well for themselves. So nothing but respect on their side of the fence, because they're really a good outfit.
That is too funny.
Yeah. Yeah. True story. We did it every single game. Every game. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it.
Oh my goodness.
Now,
right, keep rolling with me.
So I'm going to take it a step further, because I told you that it needs to be fun.
Yes.
Right. And I think that I switched up my crystal ball with the NFL. So I just want to hear the music, because I have something special for the people at home. I just want to hear So we've got something we're going to introduce this week called the Lotto ticket.
Ooh.
Because so many people take sports betting so seriously, they don't have fun. So I'm going to give you a 4-leg college football parlay that my guys at Sportsline absolutely love. Okay?
Okay. Hit me.
Arkansas, -8.5 against South Carolina. This should be more closer to 11, we believe. This is great value here. Then Alabama. They're laying 20 against Texas. Don't let the Longhorns name fool you. Alabama's the best team in the country by far, and they're going to come out, and this is also Saban against one of his proteges, Steve Sarkisian. He's going to want to pound him into the dirt. Then Kent State, Oklahoma, over 69.5. All right, Oklahoma scored a lot of points last week. Kent State, they can score. They're going to lose by a lot, but they can score. Don't let the high over total fool you. And then Oklahoma State, a horrible backdoor cover last week, but they scored over 50. And we think they'll cover -11 at home against one of my favorite coaches, Ned, of all time, Herm Edwards, and the Arizona State Sun Devils. You put all four of those together, it's a nice little tasty plus 12.28, which means on a $100 bet, you're going to win $1,228.
I like it. You know, my wife's birthday was last week, and we got a nice dinner party planned. I could use this winnings to pay for it. So 4-leg parlay. Again, tell us how I can go in and make this bet on the platform, whatever platform I'm using.
So it's very, very easy. When you want to put a parlay in, you go in, and usually all the games are listed. Okay, so you just hit on the Arkansas game, you hit the -8.5. Then you go down to the Alabama game, and you hit the 20. Then you go down to the Oklahoma game, you hit the over. Then you go down to the Oklahoma State game, hit the -11. Then you go place your bet. Then all four should be there. You hit that little box, Ned, that says change it to a parlay. Then all the odds change, because then you'll see that plus 1228 at the top. Then you put in your bet. Normally we bet $100. Keep it to a unit size that you can comfortably lose and be okay. We say 1% of your bankroll should be your bet. So if you've got $100,000, $1,000 is nice, but most people don't. So $1,000, you'd be betting $10 to $25. Don't get out of your comfort zone. But it's very simple. Just walk your way through it.
And if you were following us during the golf season, you got a nice little bankroll, especially that last event of the season, the Tour Championship. You got on the Roy McIlroy train. You got a nice bankroll to roll into NCAA NFL.
No doubt. No doubt.
So,
we are ready.
I've had people ask me, so do I have to bet $100? And again, that people are learning. That's what this show is about, right? We're helping people understand how they can do this as gambling becomes more and more prevalent, as something fun, something entertaining. Again, not to make a living off of. That's not what we're doing here. We're helping you educate yourself, and then also in the markets. But people were asking me, would I have to bet $100? So I'll let you answer.
You don't, but it makes it easier to keep track of what you're doing. Because if you're betting, if it's -126, if you bet to win 100, you're betting 126. That's easy to figure out. If you're trying to win $80, then you got to put the bet in the other side and say, how do I win $80? And so it gets very confusing. It's easy with the math to always do 100. If you're betting the favorite, bet 120 to win 100. If you're betting the underdog, bet 100 to win whatever the juice is, like plus 130 or 140. It's just an easier way to keep track of what you want to do.
Okay. So if you're going to bet $100 for the week, instead of carving it up into $10 increments or $25 increments, maybe you take your one bet and you go for $100 if that's what your allowance is every week.
That's exactly right. If that's what it is, then if you like one game, we don't encourage that, because a lot of places will do, this is our 5% bomb of the week. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. If you're confident in a pick and you give it out on a show, you notice I say this is a fun bet, which means it probably won't hit. Right. And it's a lot of fun to make it. A lot of places don't do that. And they'll say, this is my 5%. This is my 1%. We don't do that. If you give a play out, then I'm assuming you're going to bet it with your hard-earned money. So why would I give you one that I like more than the other and give them both out? I want to give you what I think is going to win. And
give him the Rory McIlroy over Fitzpatrick at -240. Keep rolling the NFL week 1. We've got a couple other games of interest on your ledger.
Oh, got a lot more. So Buccaneers and Cowboys, that's the Sunday night game. And the thing that people will understand about the Dallas Cowboys is that sports books love them. They have the most fans, and it still boggles my mind that they haven't won anything in 25 years. Nothing. They've been in the playoffs like 3 times, but yet they're still America's team.
Yes, they are.
The numbers still like them. So Tampa Bay, I think they're a better team than Dallas. They're only laying 2.5 in week 1 because people love to bet on Dallas. They just do. And I can't figure it out, but they just do. It's the Cowboys, it's the Steelers, and it's the Patriots. Those are the 3 that fans love to bet on. It was the Tom Brady effect in New England, and now he is gone. That hurts Patriots better. So I love the Bucs laying the 2.5. I just
You're not worried about Tom Brady? You're not worried about Tom Brady and his offseason not being around with the team?
If there's anybody not Ned to be worried about, it's Tom Brady. I mean, the man's won 7 titles. But I would scale it back a little bit. Every bet I make in week 1, whether it's college or whether it's pros, I scale it back just a little bit, because even though we know the players, even though we know what they did last year, this is a new year. We got to see what these teams are doing.
Fair enough.
All right. I love that play. Chiefs, Cardinals. Arizona's been a mess. They gave Kyler Murray, for some reason, $230 million, $240 million.
And said, please do your homework.
Yeah. While you're not playing video games.
Right.
What? What?
Then they put the clause in there. If you hadn't seen it, they put the clause in that said you have to go study, you have to do film. And then there was so much made about it in social media and throughout the sports world that they then retracted that from the contract.
So stupid. And how they even let that get out is beyond me, but it happens. Nothing stays secret anymore. But you're paying a 5'7" quarterback literally legendary money because they were forced to. Yeah. And so I don't think the Cardinals are all in with Kyler Murray. And you got the Chiefs, who you've got a number 15 quarterback who spent the entire offseason listening to how everybody else in his division is going to be great. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a playoff team. Guess what is mathematically impossible to do, Ned? All four teams, I'll answer the question for you. All 4 teams from a division cannot make the playoffs.
That's accurate.
You only got 7. That's impossible because you got 4 division winners. So you can't have 4 from the same conference. So when Patrick Mahomes is hearing, oh, Russell Wilson, oh, Mr. Hebert in San Diego or in LA, and then you got the Raiders that everybody thinks Derek Carr is the second coming. Patrick Mahomes, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and I'm only laying 4.5 in week number 1. I also like their team total as well. Now you add an extra game. The books, we don't believe, Ned, have adjusted enough. So I wouldn't mind the Chiefs team total, which was 10.5, 11, I believe. So I wouldn't mind that either. There's so many different ways that you can bet on your favorite team. It doesn't just have to be a straight bet every single week.
That's a good analysis too when it comes to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, we saw him at the beginning of last year with that big contract in his back pocket, kind of didn't look as engaged as he was before. And then towards the end of the season, he started to gain a little bit of that edge and grit. And you kind of think, okay, that contract's behind him. He's adjusted to dealing with the money and everything that comes with it, and his brother and sister-in-law and all this madness. Now that's gone, right? And now he can focus on what he does best, as playing quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. I like that pick.
I'm glad you used the word edge. Because at my show, The Early Edge, about a month ago, when Baker Mayfield, or 2 months, whenever it was, got traded to the Carolina Panthers, we jumped on the Panthers -1 at that time. Oh, because we knew that the Browns don't have a quarterback, and we knew that Baker Mayfield would have that chip on his shoulder. Oh. Well, we've been sitting on that bet for damn near 2 months. And then what does Baker do last week? He comes out. He's going to be the starting quarterback. He says, I want to take it to my old team and pound them into the dirt. That's the kind of inside information you got to pay attention to. Because even though you make a bet and sit on it for 2 months, it can be the right bet. And that's why you have money management, so you can have a bet sit in your account for 2 months and not even worry about it. And I have the Panthers -1, and I'm ready to cash it come Sunday. Love game 1, Panthers over the Browns.
That's a chicken dinner kind of bet right there, my man. If that bet doesn't come true, then we're going to have to reevaluate some things, because that Baker Mayfield, he doesn't have a chip. He's got like the entire block on his shoulder. It's
incredible. Now, speaking of block, got another game for you. Patriots, Dolphins. Now, everybody's talking about Miami and Tua. And he's going to be the guy, Tyreek Hill, on his podcast, telling everybody he throws a better deep ball than Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Stop it. Stop it. He was your quarterback. He won you a Super Bowl. You were dynamic because of him, not in spite of him. Okay? So now you got a new quarterback. He doesn't move as well. He doesn't throw the ball at different angles. So we're going to see what Tua can do. They're laying 3 this week against New England. I actually like Miami this week because the Patriots aren't that good. And Bill Belichick is trying to prove, even still, Ned, that it wasn't Tom Brady, that he was the genius in New England. He clearly was not. They weren't good last year. Their second-year quarterback, Mac, how much farther will he go?
Right. Is he overrated in your mind?
I don't know if he's overrated. It just takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time to become a good NFL quarterback, and we forget that because what do we get thrown in our faces all the time? The Patrick Mahomes, the guys that come out and they're dynamic in year 1 or year 2.
They're so rare.
Oh, they're so rare. And every NFL coach I worked with at ESPN, they would tell me no NFL quarterback should start in week 1. Not one. They're not ready. It does them a disservice because the game is so hard, so fast, so different than from any college game they could have played it. So when you see a quarterback sit, like we saw with Trey Lance, now he has the most money bet on him to win the MVP. Why? Because we're hearing from the coaches how good he is in practice. He had a chance to sit for a year and watch the game and let the game come to him. And now he steps in as a starting quarterback, and Jimmy G as the backup, which is why we also like the 49ers to win their division and not the LA Rams.
Speaking of MVPs and filling in and stepping in, welcome Guy Adami.
Yeah,
bitch. Baby. Welcome to the show. The water's
Look, he's got a faux hawk from 1997. Looking good.
Coach, I want you to watch something real quick. Watch this.
Okay. You're such an idiot.
There you go.
What are you doing?
G Swizzle is with us here.
Sorry about that. I was out in the rain. Got caught in the rain, as they say.
Well, you're just in time.
We've been
You're
in here
just in time.
We just been class has been in session.
Because I got a feeling
I'm late. I don't feel tardy.
Coach is getting ready to drop a couple more picks on you, and I got a feeling you're going to have some personal interest in one of them.
Well, I know he's going to bet against my New York Football Giants. They're in Tennessee. They're probably, what are they getting, Coach? Probably getting like 5.5, 6.
It's 5.5 exactly. Yes,
It's
5.5 exactly. Very good. It should be 7. It should be 7. You guys are not going to be very good this year. I think the class of your division is going to be Philadelphia.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so I like betting them to win their division. By the way, we have 8 futures episodes on our YouTube page at the Early Edge for every single division. And we have all the picks for every division. Go there, watch them. You're welcome.
I saw a guy over the weekend at a Georgetown University football game. Yes, Coach, Georgetown University has a football team.
Beat me to it.
That was going to be my first question.
Beat me to it.
Okay. I believe me. I know where you're going. But we were talking. He's from South Jersey, and he said this Eagles roster, and he knows a lot of the guys in the front office. He said this is a top 3 roster in the NFL, and I said, really? Yeah. He said, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what do we talk about right before Guy came on? Jalen Hurts. He sets year 1, correct?
Yep.
And now look at him. They stayed patient with him, and they said he's going to be a good quarterback. There's been some really tough times the first 2 years, but now he's legit. That's why they're saying what Guy is saying.
So you like my Titans over the Giants?
That's what he took from that discussion, Guy.
That's what I took from that. That's all I heard.
Oh, so you like my Titans this week? Yes, I do like them week 1. Titans, yes, I do like them week 1. I hate 5.5 point spreads. They're like ugly, they're grimy, and you're like, oh, what do I do? I love when it's more even, like 6 or even 7, but 5.5, it scares me. It always scares me.
Well, Derrick Henry should scare you, Guy Adami.
Oh my God, he's a man amongst. It's you watch certain people play, and it's just not fair. And he's one of those types of players where, I mean, I'll stick my nose into anything, but that's a guy that if I saw him coming, I got to tell you, I would do a little Olay because he's going to punish you. I mean, it's not going to be pleasant. I don't care where you tackle him. It's not going to be pleasant.
Ned,
one and done.
Ned, did we just gloss over what Guy just said? He just said, and I quote, "I will stick my nose into anything." All I heard after that was,
you know what I mean by that, Coach?
Oh, I know what you mean.
We have the same mindset. Like, I ain't scared, but
of course.
Man, oh man. That's the type of guy. The game plan has to be, look, we're going to gang tackle. Everybody's got to fly to the football. And if they beat us on a play action, so be it. But you can't let him go for 237 on, 22 carries. It's just not happening.
If you want something very, very entertaining, go to YouTube. Type in Derrick Henry workouts.
Oh,
you don't want to be a linebacker after you watch those workouts. That man is a beast, and his workouts are something that normal people just cannot do.
The videos of him stiff arm, and remember, this is not high school football. This is the NFL. These are the best players on the planet, the best players at their positions. Him stiff arming guys and literally watching them go 8 yards backwards in the air. It's
going to be amazing.
It's crazy. It's like a freaking video game. Anyway,
if you're a Titans fan,
yes,
watching that is heavenly. It's almost like going down to Mississippi. It's almost that rewarding. Watching Derrick Henry stiff arm somebody out of bounds and then run for a touchdown. It's like going down to Mississippi, fellas. I'm telling you, that's where it's at. The weather's going to be perfect this fall. All these good golf courses, all the food, cuisine, the culture, the Grammy Museum. You know, there are more Grammy winners from the state of Mississippi than any other state in the union. Did you know that?
How would I know that? Unless
now you know
me.
that. Now you are educated, dummy.
Faith Hill is one.
There are more from Mississippi than any other state in the union. You can go to the Grammy Museum, and then you can drive yourself down to the coast to enjoy the gambling. If you like to sling some dice, you play some cards, you can enjoy the sports book and all the trappings that come with it, Coach. Check it out. Visit Mississippi.org.
Get the gumbo. I've mentioned it. Get the gumbo. Sausage, chicken, gumbo with little okra, which I know we've talked about, but I digress. Sorry, back to you, Ned.
So, Coach, can we ask Jacob when he's going to put it in a chart or something that we can put out on our social media, all the picks that you just rolled through and made, so
Absolutely,
that we can be concise with it, because those were awesome.
100%. We'll take care of that for you.
All right. Do you have any final ones you want to sling at us before I start picking Guy Adami's brain here?
I think I gave you something on almost every single game. The other one I want you guys to keep an eye on is the Ravens and the Jets. A lot of people think that Lamar Jackson could be the NFL MVP. Remember, he does not have an agent. He's negotiating the salary by himself. They have not come to an agreement. I think it's because he does not have an agent, because he's just being dumb. But he's going to play. He's not going to hold out. So keep an eye on that game too.
That's interesting. That's a whole different can of worms in a discussion, not having an agent, because you're saving whatever it is in the NFL, what, 2, 3, 4, 5%.
Yeah.
In golf, it's 20% a lot of times. And that's a big number, 2, 3, 4, 5% of the number that he's going to get. But at the same time, it's the devil's in the details of those contracts, Coach. You know it, Guy, you know it. And
well, if the agent's going to improve the contract by 10, 15%, it pays for him or herself. So
100%. And also, you got to remember, guys, that we're now starting the season. Think about what we do on a daily basis. And what if we had a $250 million contract hanging over our heads? And the fact that the Ravens, if they so choose, they can franchise tag him not once, but twice. And that means he's going to make $40 million a year, but it's on a 1-year deal and not on that 4 or 5 for $250. That's the difference.
Coach breaking this shit down, man. It's only Coach can do. You look good, by the way, Coach. You're a handsome man. You cleaned up the goat, I see. You trimmed that shit up.
I did. Very nice. You know, I was watching. It was voted the best goatee in America.
Stop it. Now you're embarrassing yourself.
I did. I was. I mean, it was embarrassing when they told me. I said, this is just a Tuesday for me. Everybody else are like, oh, Saturday night. No, every day.
And then you look at Ned, man. He's got it's a completely different look.
Kind of all over the place.
I worked my last tournament of the year. I actually have one more next week, but it was a long, gratifying, strong year. But I said I'm not shaving until we got to get back in the chair.
Guy, isn't it cute? Wouldn't you like to have a season in your job? I would love to have a season in my job, my daily job. I'm going into my busiest time of the year, and the man is over here going, man, I'm at the end of my season. Woo!
There ain't no seasons, man.
Off.
Man, I was 8 nights from first week of May all the way until last week. So come on.
I was there almost every week with you.
Let's go to the markets because we're already over
Ned's going to work on a short game in the offseason. Yeah, let's talk about
you know what? I am going to work on my short game. Okay, so here are the things I want to talk about, Guy Adami, and you can pick them apart however you want.
Sure.
I want to know what we need to do with Tesla.
Let's do this thing.
I want OIH. Where do we go there? OPEC has announced that they're going to cut production.
Yeah, they are. They ain't
very
around.
interesting. And then something I want to put on your radar, and I'm going to get Danny as well and Dan Nathan. I want to pick for 5 years from now. You don't have to do it today, but I'm just putting it on your radar. 5 years from now, I want something that I can buy today that 5 years from now, we're going to look back and say, that was an amazing investment. I'm glad we did that. All right. So just put that on your radar, put it away for now. That's going to be next week. We're going to dissect those picks.
I like
but
that.
For right now,
dissecting. All right. So
tell me
in
what
order,
you
you want to talk about Tesla. Well, look at Jacob because this kid is Johnny on the spot. He's going to throw up a Tesla chart. Now, understand, Coach, that this is post-split Tesla. So you see 270, you're like, wait a second. This biatch was just a $900 stock. What happened? Well, it's split. Now, if we can sort of widen this thing out a little bit, since the split, it hasn't traded particularly well. And if you look, we continue to make a series of lower highs, which a technician will tell you is not particularly good. And that's been happening since November. It certainly feels to me as if this stock, the path of least resistance is lower. All the catalysts to drive it higher, the split, all the things that Elon Musk was talking about, obviously being able to back away from Twitter, all those things are sort of in the rearview mirror now. So I look at this and say, we may make a run at those lows we saw back in May, and post-split, that probably puts us around, 205 or thereabouts. If you remember, I think the low before the split was about $600, Ned.
Yep, that sounds about right. So again, Tesla, is if you're going to buy puts or you're going to short it, you do it at your own risk. But
I'll tell you, I mean, I can't speak intelligently about the volatility or what you're paying. My sense is the vol is probably expensive. And this is one of those things where you have to catch it cold in order to cash those puts in. But look, I mean, I think the better for most people, it's where's my entry point if I want to get long. And I think that entry point is somewhere between sort of call it 205 and 225 if you're looking to establish a long position.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That's what I do.
OPEC.
I am beautiful, by the way.
Last month said we're going to increase 100,000 barrels. They said we're going to cut 100,000 barrels, kind of like your haircut.
Yeah.
So it's back to all square basically over the past couple of OPEC announcements. OIH had a nice little bump this morning, and now it has reversed course. Where does this go?
I mean, boy, this is a battleground, as they say. I mean, right around this 235, 240 level. It seems like we want to break out, then it gives it back, and then it recaptures it. I'll say this again for emphasis. I'm one of the few people out there remaining that still think crude oil has a leg higher. You saw what OPEC is doing. I think what OPEC is telling you is, look, we're happy with the price here. As a matter of fact, we want it to be significantly higher. So President Biden went, if you recall, I think it was on July 13th or 14th, if memory serves, he went to speak to Saudi Arabia. Nothing really came from that. If you remember, oil sold off into that, and it's been somewhat stable since. You see what's going on in Europe. You see what's going on with the Russians. I think this all leads to higher crude oil prices. The flip side of that coin is global growth is slowing. However, we have not seen a commensurate move in terms of demand. Demand is still at sort of pre-19 levels. So I think crude higher. I think OIH higher, which should come as no surprise to either one of you, because I've been pretty a steadfast bull in this. It's been right. It's been wrong. It's been right. It's been wrong. Right now, it's sort of no man's land.
How concerned are you about what's happening between China and Taiwan?
Very. And if you remember, I know you know this, Ned, because you watch on the tape and you listen on the tape, you watch Market Call. In the fall of last year, I said, what people are not taking into full consideration of the geopolitical risks out there, I said, listen, I think Russia, Ukraine will rear its ugly head right after the Olympics are over. That was off by a week, if you remember. They did it midway through the Olympics. And I thought China and Taiwan would sort of boil up, heat up around the same time. That didn't happen, but you're starting to see rumblings again. And I think, listen, again, I don't do geopolitics. I missed that day in school, but all the evidence and all the data suggests that this is going to get worse before it gets better. And when you're fighting a foe that has a 50-year timeline in the form of China, as opposed to people like us that have a 5-minute timeline, it's very difficult to beat them. And they are willing to lose battles in order to win war. And if you listen to President Xi, the rhetoric coming out of China, they feel that Taiwan is part of China. So they talk about reunification, whatever words they use, it all suggests that something's going to happen there. And I don't think that's particularly bullish for the market.
Taking a page out of Putin's playbook.
Sure he is.
So from a macro perspective, panning out, again, inflation. I did major in economics.
Yeah, you
did. I feel like I'm just
good
enough
school,
to
the
know.
Commodores.
Who
by the way, great
that?
band, by the way.
By the way, 2-0 football team. Over under on wins for the season was 2.5.
Let me tell you something. Coach and I could walk out onto the street. Coach could go get 10 guys from where he is to play defense. I could go find 10 dudes from where I am to play offense, and we could have put 40 up against Elon. Anyway, back to you.
A win is a win.
Yes, no, I'm not. You brought it up. I mean, you're getting in my
Georgetown could have put up.
Right. That's where I was going to go, but I thought, I'm going to take the high road here.
Yeah,
road less traveled. I don't even know that road exists.
Macro view. Again, what I understand tempers and quells inflation is not to put more money into the system. And here we are asking for more money to go for, and again, I'm not making a political statement. This is strictly economic.
No.
To loan forgiveness for student loans.
Yeah.
We're asking for another, $800 million for the Ukraine. And now we're asking for over $1 billion for Taiwan arms support. Again, where are we getting this from? And does this not cause more inflation?
Of course it does. I mean, where are you getting it from? You're basically creating it out of thin air. And you say, oh, guy, you're being a jerk. Well, go back and watch Jerome Powell's first interview on 60 Minutes, I think within 9 months or so of him taking the chairman role. He talked about exactly that. How do you make, do you printing money? He goes, actually, no, it's done, by computer. And that's exactly what it is. It's literally money created out of thin air. And that works until it doesn't. And that's a whole different conversation. But is it inflationary? Absolutely. And I would say that 9.1% CPI print we saw a couple months ago, that's hopefully going to be the high we see in terms of number. But it takes a long time to get back down. And the Fed wants it to be back down to 2%. It's not going to happen for a long time. So what I've said for a while is you might have seen peak inflation in terms of the absolute number, but I'll give you two more PEs. That's persistent and pesky. Remember Johnny Pesky, Coach? I know you do.
Well,
and that's what's going to be here for a while. By the way, it's interesting, and I digress because that's what I do. At Fenway Park, they have the Pesky Pole, which was named after Johnny Pesky, and it's like, basically 237 feet out in the right field. But what's funny is Johnny Pesky, I think, only hit 14 career home runs or something stupid like that. So it begs the question, why would you name the pole after that guy, other than the fact that his name begins with P? Back to you, Ned.
We'll do some research. I'm sure somebody
can't be like the
Yastrzemski
pole,
we'll figure it out,
or the Williams pole, or the Bernie Carbo pole, or the Butch Hobson pole.
Next week,
I can
this
keep
time,
going, by the way, Coach.
When we're talking this week, next time, where is the SPX?
So where's it now? It's like, I want to say it's like 39.50-ish. Where look at freaking, I tell you what.
Nobody better.
Johnny on the spot. No, it's nobody better. I think it's lower. And we've been pretty consistent in that, Ned. I know you know that. I mean, we thought it would rally into late July, August. It did. It got a little higher than I thought. But even if you scale out a little bit, you'll see we're in a pretty significant downtrend from November until we are now. And I think you're going to make a run at the lows we saw in June. So I say lower. If I'm wrong, listen, I'm RONG wrong all the time. Arthur Fonzarelli couldn't say it. I can. And if I am, I will, but I think lower.
You're never wrong when you take us out of the show, guy. Adami.
Oh, here we go.
You're
I got a good one for
always
you
right
guys.
On.
Coach is going to love this one, by the way. Tell me. We have to change that graphic. So I'm big on loyalty. That's a word that resonates with both of you, I'm sure, right? And Coach Kelly went to Notre Dame and he talked loyalty, talked family, the legend, Notre Dame, what we are, what we're trying to build here. He basically got up on the cloak of darkness one night and decided, Notre Dame was no longer for him. He was going to go down to the friendly confines of Louisiana State University. Be careful what you wish for. So this past Saturday, as Coach knows and as Ned knows, Louisiana State played Florida State in a game that they were really getting their asses handed to them. They came back late, looking to tie the game with an extra point. And what happens? Special teams rears its ugly head. Extra point blocked. The Seminoles of Florida State win week 1 and put the LSU Tigers in an 0-1 hole. By the way, probably on to 0-2. So, Coach Kelly, I hope you're enjoying it down there in the Bayou State because, quite frankly, the rest of the country can't stand you. Back to you, Coach, because I know you have thoughts.
Do you know who is also very happy about that extra point miss and the fact that Brian Kelly is at LSU? What's the name? Nick Saban. I'll answer it for you. Why is Nick Saban happy?
Coach, I think it's probably Nick Saban.
Nick Saban has a clause in his contract, essentially, and until he gets too high, that he has to be the highest paid coach in America. So when somebody gets a big deal, then who gets a bigger deal? So you probably saw in the last 2 weeks, Nick Saban, new contract extension, more money, now north of $11 million a year to coach college football. He started this trend, and now Brian Kelly gets over 10, he gets over 11. So every time a new coach gets that bump, Nick Saban sits back in his office and he says, thank you to my agent for putting that escalator in my contract. It's the same one I have here at Breaking Even, by the way.
Yeah,
I have to make more than Guy.
Lamar Jackson is not putting that escalator in his contract.
No.
He's not thinking of that.
No.
By the way, I think Coach Saban is the highest paid government employee by far in the state of Alabama.
By far. And by the way, at least the last time I checked, they're the only school in America that every member of their coaching staff makes over $1 million a year.
So does their offensive line. And on that note,
Yes.
I got to start.
We've already stretched it
Yes.
out 15 minutes too long. Thank you all for hanging in there with us. We'll see you next week on Breaking Even for Coach and Guy. This is Ned Michaels. See ya.